to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Society Now, a show that endeavors to bring you quality content that endeavors to excite, inspire, and invoke really great conversation amongst friends and family and coworkers and everyone else. Remember, this is not fake news. This is about Society Now. And again, my name is Kira Laws, and you can follow me on Instagram at the Modern Day Cindy. That's Cindy with an I, not a Y. And I have my handsome co-host with me today.
Hey, y'all, what's going on? This your man, Kaylin Laws. Make sure you follow me at Senior Waffle 713 on all social media outlets. That's SENORGUAPO 713. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Society Now, right here on the Sphere.
On the Sphere. Now, now we have a guest today. Who do we have today?
Listen, it's a good friend. It's someone that I met serving the community, and we service, man.
Come on now.
Shout out to Phi Beta Sigma Brotherhood Scholarship and Service Blue Fire. But we met
the plug.
Gotta throw the bros in there.
Okay.
But we met serving the community at an event with an organization that I'm on, that I love, and I'm on the board. Well, I was on the board of, called Houston Village Foundation. And this young lady she stood out amongst a bunch of giants and tall trees that were at this event of people who were rendering dope services for these young men. It was called the Youth Male Summit. And so we just had a blast, man. And she's a poet. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's a woman of the community. She's a creative director. She just epitomizes dopeness. Her name is Kathy Lewis. Kathy, wow. What up?
Hey.
How are you?
That intro, though.
Hey. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Listen, we just tell it like it is, a society. Now, you heard my wife. She said no fake news. And if I would say anything other, it would be fake.
And if y'all was doing anything other than that, I wouldn't even be here.
Right.
So,
Truth.
Thank
Facts.
you.
We appreciate you.
So how are you?
Thank y'all for having me.
No
I'm
problem.
great.
Thanks
I'm
for coming.
so excited for the opportunity. It's funny that you bring up, we met. That was like 4 years ago on the TSU campus. But what y'all don't know is the first time I saw your wife on a microphone was even way before that.
Really? When?
Yes.
Wow.
When was this?
This was at a rally in Fort Bend County called Beautiful Girls.
Oh my God!
You
yes, I remember.
And
I was a speaker. They remember because Tree sung. She sung, and I spoke, and it was in Fort Bend
at a church.
At a church. Yes, it was. I remember that. Oh
and
my
I think
God.
that was before.
Yeah, that was before me. That must have been before.
Yeah,
no,
so
we were together.
Yes. We have been together 40
years.
years.
Before I met him.
Oh, yeah.
So then we met and connected on social media. And I was like, that's his wife.
Yeah, because you couldn't. Because I remember you didn't come to the event, but I remember because Latrice was singing
It must have been a women's event or something.
It was a young girls event.
Yeah.
It was a young girls event, but her and her squad at the time was all singing, and then I spoke. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's dope.
So they're on there. They're going on their 5th year for that rally, and I've been a part of it every year since that first year when your wife was the inaugural
Hey, come on, you better make history.
I was super like freaked out. Everybody, I was like, I don't know. I have a lot to say.
I just heard she was so
organized.
that.
I had a PowerPoint because I am administrative to my core.
I remember she had on like a suit jacket, like a blazer.
It was like a hot pink one, and so I'm like, I remember that.
I dressed really cute that first year too. Now that we've done it for 4 years,
it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna just show up,
chasing kids and doing breakout sessions. Everybody done reduced to tennis shoes and t-shirts.
Listen, I was like, well, I'm about to go speak.
Yeah, this is like a full circle moment.
Oh, that is
dope.
a full circle. Yeah, you better be there. Come on now. Yeah. That's awesome. So tell everybody who you are and how did you fall in love with poetry?
Man, the long story short is I was in a scholarship pageant in college, Alpha's Miss Black and Gold. And I was trying to think what I would do for my talent portion. I was a college student athlete, and I was like, I can't do that. I ran track, and I was like, well, I can't come out the blocks. What am I going to do? And my mom said, you've always been an amazing writer. You should write a poem.
That's where I knew you from. I knew you ran.
Is it another full circle moment? Are y'all catching this?
Yeah.
Shut up.
I swear, I promise you.
This interview is going to take all kind of left turns.
I was like, when we first met, I was like, I know her face. You ran for tech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I promise. I ran for TSU and UH. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So you know Alicia Stevens?
Yes.
We ran summer track together
Wow.
as kids. That is so crazy.
That's crazy. Okay.
But yeah, so
Dallas Gold, baby.
So I was like, what am I gonna do for my talent portion? My mom, of course, our mothers always lead us in the way we should go. And she said, you should write a poem. And I was like, So I wrote a poem. I got a standing ovation. I won the pageant. After that, everybody was like, oh, man, you a dope poet. How long you been doing this? I was like, since last week.
Like, I just started 7 days ago.
Mom birthed that thing in you, didn't she?
Yeah, but so as a result of it, I started doing it kind of, inadvertently. But as a result of it, it became, my outlet to express myself and organize my thoughts and share my testimony and entertain. And then you fast forward 10 something years later, it's become the biggest probably part of my identity. So that's the long story short. Yeah,
that's a cue for like good parenting though, because I think it's a parent's job to really recognize the gifts in their kids.
Absolutely.
And then you don't have to necessarily force it, but find know your timing, right? Like know the timing of when to introduce it or really cultivate it. I think it was shout out to mom.
I know.
Hey,
Mom.
One clap for mom.
Yay, one clap for mom.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
dope.
right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
That's good. Okay, so tell us. So since you've been working in this vein of poetry, what are some of the challenges that have been met with, like as a woman, as a poet? What things have you been met with?
There are sometimes like any other artist, there is that I guess pressure to adjust your voice for your audience, or maybe even for your opportunity. So you think, hey, this is what's really on my heart, but how will they react to what I have to say? Will it come off too aggressive, or what about my word choice, or do I want to come across this way or that way? And that, I guess, is the obstacles we face, like in life in general. Like, how do I conform myself or dilute myself to fit into this category or the other? But the cool thing about it is kind of when I put all of those notions aside is probably when my opportunities and the doors that were truly for me identified themselves and keep identifying themselves. When I stopped trying to like sound like or, adjust for or speak to, and really just say like what God had laid on my heart, and find out that it was like truly for a purpose. I felt that way for a reason. So I think that was probably the biggest obstacle, trying to make sure I said what I felt like other people wanted to hear, as opposed to speaking my truth, no matter what.
I think that's a challenge for most people, though. That's real,
that's
because
why I say it's life.
It's life, because I always tell people, like, what is your voice? Like, what is your identity?
Right.
And really find it. And you can be around a person. Like, I think it's really great. I think it's good to have a wide spectrum of persons that you hang around, but a lot of times, you have to be strong in who you feel like you're supposed to be and really go after that person. I feel like the person that you keep seeing in your mind, the person that keeps, I would say, visiting you, haunting you, like this,
keeping you up at night.
Keeping you up at night is the person you're supposed to pursue, like your true self, how you see yourself. Versus,
and you spoke to that all those years ago at that rally.
Did I? I'm like, because that's always been my platform. I'm like, I think people have identity issues because we try to wrap ourselves up in the identity of other people instead of really pursuing what God laid on our hearts, right? And so for you saying like, as an artist or, one of the challenges is just trying to make sure that you don't dilute yourself too much based upon the audience, although understanding that the audience does have something that they're there for, right? So as the creativity with that, like how has being gifted in creative arts benefited you?
Oh man. And I kind of spoke to this like in my little interview questionnaire. I actually was like super shy and quiet, like as a kid, like nothing like my daughter. If y'all can see like how she dressed, and she the one that like want to wear her fro out and all that kind of stuff.
Girl. Have identity. That's right.
I wanted to kind of blend in, not get in trouble, you know, kind of be seen and not heard. That's how I was naturally as a kid. And once again, my mom, I'll never forget, I was like super sensitive, maybe crying about getting a bad grade or somebody had bullied me in school. And my mom was like, girl, she was like, as a black woman in this world, she was like, if everything makes you cry, she was like, you ain't gonna survive out here. And I was like, Mom, I was like,
hashtag facts, right?
Those are facts.
Absolutely.
That's facts, everybody.
Because it's amazing. That's an interesting point because we hinge as black men, we hinge that everything is against us, right? Like in terms of, especially in this country, so many systemic things are hurdles and obstacles that we have to face as black men. But who really doesn't get the credit are the women that we go home to.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like we deal with everything that we deal with, and it's there. It's real. It's alive. It's tangible. It's palatable. But we bring all of that frustration, all of that energy sometimes. We bring it back to our ladies, to our mothers, to our cousins, whoever are the nurturers in our lives. And so that's an amazing point that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The reality that you guys have to deal with it just as much, if not more.
Yeah. And then, but we still got to like respect each other's. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't discredit that it's hard for a black man in today's society to be treated fairly, to be heard as equally as it is for a woman, but not to like, you know, elevate one struggle over the other. Particularly as like a black community, we got to acknowledge that for each other and support each other in that. And that's always been like the kind of woman my mom was, even as a single parent of 6.
Oh wow.
And that is how
My Lord.
Yeah, I said 6. And so
like 3 times 2.
Yeah. And that's what kind of woman like she raised her daughters to be. That's what kind of men she raised her sons to be. So that's what, you know, comes out of my mouth, because that's what's always been like, you know, embedded in my life. So
I love that.
And you know, well, another thing that needs to be embedded in our lives is we talk about the struggles that black men and women go through, and people also go through things financially, and we want to be able to help folks navigate those difficult and troublesome waters. So as such, this portion of the show is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states of the United States offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Do not become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463 or email us at info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask how you can participate in a complimentary, that means free, financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services. Got to get your coin right and contact them.
Amen.
Amen. Because the coinage
The
coinage is important, because you're not going to get too far for nothing. Okay, you have to have that, you know, have financial backing to do a lot of stuff, unless you have a great angel investor, and we can talk about that on another show. Yeah. So, okay, so you are, again, like you have mentioned, the importance of really being able to use your creativity to express yourself, talked about the importance of having persons in your life that actually support you and or see your gifts and push you forward. For that, you know, I know you mentioned earlier that we met at an event that was geared toward young women, young girls actually. And what other community projects are you involved in, and why do you choose those projects?
that's typically how, you know, we connect. Like, we'll talk about Houston Village Foundation. So he's had several events. The actual event that I was at was called The Absent Father. And it was something that he, you know, put together for the community to have an open dialogue and conversation about the pitfalls of the absent father, how it affects the single mom, how it affects the man that has been removed from the home, how it affects the children. But I really think, like, I think it's kind of like a God thing. If I connect with somebody in a certain way when I'm at an event, that'll typically be the door that opens for like the next opportunity. Oh, okay. They may see like a commonality in the subject matter that I write about, but because, like I said, I'm a mother. I was raised by a single mother raising a daughter. I always want what I have to say and the example that I set to be one that my baby can be proud of and one that my mother can be proud of. And I think about what I always needed to hear and the people that spoke into my life when I was grade school age, which, as we know, as educators, how important that is to shaping like a young girl's self-esteem. And, you know, as we continue to divulge in like this society of like trends in social media and the current state of like Black marriage, it's become really passionate to me that young girls understand like holistic love and not just how it relates to a man and a woman, but how it relates to your creator and how it relates to how you love and respect yourself. So that's what a lot of my work is about. And I typically perform or speak at events that are geared towards that same vision. So it'll be church conferences, it'll be girls rallies, youth rallies, private functions that are you know, geared towards like empowerment or inspiration or faith and purpose. So
I think that's important.
To name a few, yeah.
I think that because I think sometimes we're looking for like bigger platforms. You know, and I talked about community projects, but bigger platforms to actually share what we have. But like, you know, you said, knowing that like when you take certain opportunities, it usually opens the door for the next opportunity, and you have to be, I guess, discerning enough to be able to recognize what opportunity it really is for you.
Yes.
Because everything is not necessarily for you, although doors may be opening, but, you know, understanding where your passion lies and understanding if there's a big opportunity there too to reach more people, how are you going to do it effectively? And like you said, not dilute what you have to say or not dilute your purpose there, right?
And you know when they really want you to, like when they say like, no, like it's something about you, I want you to do it, as opposed to like, I'm looking for a poet, you free on Saturday?
We just need somebody to fill the spot. They like, so and so dropped out.
We got a 5-minute slot on the itinerary. Can you come do a poem? That's different than like, man, you gotta come to XYZ. You know what I mean? So that's how it feels. That's how the invitation sounds when it's for you.
It sounds like, okay, oh my gosh, I didn't really think, you know, okay, I really feel like you really want me to be here.
And that means, you know, and that's how we trying to teach, you know, young people and young girls like how to find like your lane and your thing, and not try to look and act and behave like everybody else. When it's something that's for you, that's what the invitation looks like. The relationship looks like, the invitation looks like that. You're not an option. It's specifically geared towards you. When it's your lane for a business opportunity or like a life-changing decision, it will identify itself differently than just any other thing.
Absolutely. So. I love that because it definitely will show itself to be for you. It will pair itself well.
Yes.
It will pair itself well.
Indeed, man. Something that you guys were talking about really is in terms of reaching people. Sometimes we look at for the big platform. We look for the most people. I think it's important that, you know, for all of our listeners and viewers, that you understand that you chase purpose and profit will follow. Chase passion and profit will follow. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I love about it. You said they kind of organically happens. It's a God thing, is what you said. And everybody wants the grand stage, right? Yes. Everybody wants that, but the grand stage isn't always the best stage.
And you got to be conditioned for the grand stage.
Facts.
You don't just come from the house or at your Bible study. Go to the grand stage. There's levels to this. Right?
Listen, it ain't for everybody.
It ain't for everybody. Yes. You know, everybody's not called to the grand stage.
Yes.
You know, you have so many people.
And it's not for the weak. You know, you have to, you know, like that crawl before you walk thing.
Not for the faint at heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Y'all could ask the laws. They know about being famous.
Man, listen, let me tell you something.
That's funny.
They can say
let me tell this thing. This crown is not light. Okay, we got to every day. We got to get up and hit our knees and be like, listen. It takes a lot to be to walk in humility.
Yeah,
because it's not.
And it also takes a lot to put on these shows and these broadcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot, man. But we want to thank our Facebook Live family and ask that you continue to subscribe to our show on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback. And share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends. And donate, I say again, donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/. That's the one that's by the question mark. Donate, www.thesphere.tv/donate, and support all the content that we have going on. Make sure that you go ahead and hit subscribe so that you can get the rest of this interview, because I got a feeling she's going to drop us a nice little bit, a limerick or a sonnet or something. She's going to give us a couple bars before this interview is over with. So stay tuned, subscribe so you can get the rest of it. We'll see you guys next time. Yeah, man, it's but I think it's important. I'm just happy to be in the midst of greatness.
We should be happy.
Yeah, I got two black queens in here, man.
You should.
I got
be
two
happy.
black queens in here. And I'm Gucci.
Hey
I'm
now.
good.
Hey now.
Or is it Louis?
I'm Louis. Hey, I'm gonna start saying that I'm Louis.
We're not Gucci. We Louis.
We Louis, man.
We not biased. How about that?
about
So listen,
Whatever you
okay.
wanna send our
Whatever,
way.
whatever you want to send.
Yeah.
Some gratis bags. We'll take those
We'll
two.
take 'em.
We'll take those two. Okay, so overall, I think that you've had, like you said, it's an amazing, when you think about the trajectory of how you got here, starting as a athlete and then transitioning into finding like just love in this thing that you didn't even know was there. I think that's amazing. And now we talk about how you get connected to the organizations that you participate, or the organizations that you've been called into, or the events that you participate in. I know you have deeper things that you're doing too. So tell us about the book that you have going on.
Sure. I always want to be published, and sometimes we feel like we're waiting for the perfect opportunity, both financially and like on our calendar to happen.
Come on,
and
come on, opportunity.
Yeah,
ain't
like when is that window? When is the time right? And,
when you open it.
Yeah, it's like I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then one day I just was like, the time is like now. If I have the resources to do it, like I need to do it. So I self-published my book, Word of Mouth. It's available at Amazon.com in 2015. And it's just a compilation of my poetry and stories to kind of give the reader an understanding of like what I had experienced, or what led to the writing of that, or if I was talking like in first person about myself, or if it was a story about my mother or my friend. And it kind of rolled in chronological order and told a really cool story about just growing up as a young woman and trying to identify like what my purpose was, who my mentors were going to be, then dealing with, issues of like relationship and like heartbreak, motherhood, like the development of my faith and like my relationship with God, and then how we have to kind of bring it all like full circle and understand that we all have like a job to do, the importance of forgiveness. So just things that are like were really pressing on my heart and important to me, and that have kind of shaped the woman that I was up until that point. It's crazy because if I look back, I'm like, man, I got so much more to say since 2015. But so I'll be back on my laptop working
Volume
on
2.
something else new. But
No, that's
yeah,
good.
so that's what that original publication is about. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, because I think just the other day, my husband was asking, what are some of your favorite, I guess it was albums, something like that. I said, well, I'm interesting because I don't really have a favorite album per se. I like music that tells a story. I said, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
I said, so I wish we can go back to the days where albums told stories.
Yeah.
Like you turn it on and you had intermissions, you had everything, but
Yeah.
every song played upon the next thing. Because I was like, if I'm paying you,
Yeah.
I need you to entertain me because I can't see you. So
And they don't make albums now that you can listen to from beginning to end.
No, it's just a
like
bunch
2
of
out
cuts.
of 12.
Yeah,
That you
the-
plug.
Oh,
very
okay.
few press play album.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
so, when you talk about your book and you talk about it's telling a story about your evolution or
Yeah.
how you came to be at the time
Yeah.
that it was published, I think that's important because sometimes people need to know the story.
Yeah.
People need to know, okay, well, what does this mean to you? How does it interrelate? How does it
Yeah.
interconnect? And people want to be able to identify. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of times we get edited information
Or we get the person's current chapter.
You get the person's current chapter.
You see Miss Laws walking at the mall, and you don't know the story that she told at the girls' rally.
Man, you don't know the story, and there was a story. You know what I mean? And it's and then it was there's a story behind the story because there was a story behind the day. You know what I mean? Like it's so much with that, and I'm like, so that's part of the. I think it makes it intriguing that we have to be careful, or not careful, be mindful to actually share the whole thing, and not the portion of it, like you said, that
and
people
not show the ugly parts.
And we try to edit that part out, but we shouldn't. We really shouldn't.
Yeah, and that's what makes the book cool, because what I've learned, and I'm sure you can attest to this as a woman, particularly as a Black woman, a millennial woman, we are so like competitive, we so judgy, and not even because that's our heart, it's sometimes our experience. So you kind of just be like, I'm gonna wait and see. Like, I don't just want to. Ask her if she could follow me on Facebook. You don't know how to approach it. But then, or you be like, oh, I ain't going to share that because she'll go back and tell or whatever.
Right.
And then you really have an intimate conversation with your sister, and you hear Me Too more often than not.
More often than not.
And then you end up having like an emotional bond with a person who you may not have even spoke to from across the room. So what I learned in writing it, and then in sharing it and having conversations about it, so some of the stories that I probably was afraid to admit to because, they weren't glamorous, or they were hurtful or shameful, whatever the case may be. Once I did share them and hear other people say, man, the same thing happened to me, and then it becomes a change agent and a conversation starter for so many other things that we really need to address and talk about. So that was like the most dynamic part for sure. And like I said, I'm sure you can relate to those moments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll be here all day.
Yeah. What's the time?
What time are we supposed to end? Okay, so tell us about being involved with the writer's block.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us more about that, and what is it, and your involvement in it. And
So shout out to AJ McQueen. He's like the founder and the face of the writer's block. AJ has like a
St. Louis, stand up.
I'm sure y'all know him, but AJ has like a huge following. He has a huge voice in the community. The idea of the writer's block is they do writing workshops for the youth. It's a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3. He does weekends. He does open mics for like poets and artists to come every Thursday and share their craft. He puts on like shows. The one that I was a part of more recently, it was to raise money for a Hurricane Harvey victim. He gave all the proceeds to her right there at the show to help her and her family like get back on their feet. But yeah, big shout out to AJ McQueen and the Writer's Block. We've shared a stage like many times. He has music on iTunes. He's a dope poet. He's an activist. Like, he's a man of God. Like, he's just dope all the way around. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, man. AJ's that guy. He really is that guy. He's the real deal. Been on 106 Park.
Yeah.
He's been all over the country. And so the Writer's Block is a phenomenal. We got to get AJ on the show.
They just expanded too. Like, he posted recently that I think they're going to have a Writer's Block in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it'll be like the third or fourth chapter. So they have a few chapters around the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really dope.
That's what's up. So, should we ask her for her piece now or later? How do you want to do this? Is she gonna bless us with a piece now?
Listen, what do you feel? What energy you feel like?
Y'all show. I'm just a squirrel trying to.
Let's see. You know what? Let's bless the people early.
Okay, cool. This piece is entitled "Hide and Seek." We all know the game of hide and seek, but lately you've been playing by yourself. As silly as it sounds, that you'd be hiding while no one counts. You're not yet convinced you are already it. So you sit hiding in a closet. But your closet isn't walk-in with sliding doors. Your closet is a mindset followed by behaviors. And if you can't hide your thoughts of inadequacy there, you'll get under the covers or under the influence. You'll crawl under the bed and behind the curtains or beneath a mask and to the back of the class till you choke out your potential, self-inflicted. Then get lost in the crowd behind makeup or inches, then dying to get outed, mind, body, and spirit. You're trapped behind labels or trends or in plain sight or behind that fake smile or behind everything's all right. But if only you knew you didn't have to hide behind shame or guilt and distrust or under the bondage of your unforgiveness or in that false projected image or in your sarcastic responses, or underneath hypocrisy, because everybody hides from something. I can hear all the counting, so you can stop pretending because you hide. Possibly in overeating, trying to fill your heart, or in that liquor you drink till you can barely remember what you were crying for, at the bottom of a bottle of headache and hangover. But ready or not, here I come to pull you out from behind what your parents did or couldn't do, out from under depression or emotional abuse, out of violence and anger, rejection, your attempts at perfection, immaturity or sex, or your positions of power behind a big desk, just nursing your bruises and clenching your fist, and up off the internet, out other people's comments, and out your comfort zone. 'Cause the game is long over. You can't stay crouched in the corners of religion or your contentment and expectations without a voice or opinions, playing hide and go seek by yourself. As silly as it sounds, that you'd keep hiding while no one counts, unable to escape a space that's been unlocked, afraid to open your eyes in case the room is still dark, not yet convinced you are free. So come out. Wherever you are. That's it.
Yo,
I love it.
Listen,
Thank you.
we got fans in here. iPhones is going crazy.
Snap with my love.
Our producer Terry, she's over there snapping and everything. Listen, that was amazing.
Thank
that was
you.
phenomenal as
Thank
usual.
you.
So much content, so much meat, so much nutritive value in what you spit, man. And we appreciate that. Your gift is a gift. Truly.
Thank you so much.
God has wrapped it for you. And presented it in such a beautiful package, and we appreciate you sharing it.
How about packaging?
And we thank you for sharing it with us.
No,
right,
thank
Pat.
y'all so much for having me.
That's
Absolutely.
I'm
listen.
blessed.
Hold on.
You're not going anywhere now.
And she spoke with the cadence like this, and I love it because when she got in the zone, she kind of
Don't make
set.
fun of me.
No, it was dope. It was dope,
Yeah.
man. You did a piece on Facebook a few weeks ago, and I was like,
Yeah.
it was fam.
That was
Yeah.
how I plugged myself. He put a comment on it like, dope. I was like, I want to be on the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
you better listen. You
Like,
listen.
done,
He was like, okay.
done.
Right, listen. You
Get
better
back to
speak
you.
up.
Yeah, stuff like that just makes me smile, man.
Yeah.
God, it just
Absolutely.
makes me smile.
Makes me smile too. And this is why this portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. So at Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We're committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and a friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are a part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Baptiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Chandra Baptiste at Elite Dental Wellness by calling 713-789-8680. Again, the number is 713-789-8680. Elite Dental Wellness.
Elite Dental Wellness. Get your
grip. Okay,
listen,
we
get your
talk
grin
about,
on.
Talk about this a lot.
Listen, we talk about teeth
Well,
quite significantly.
So we had an issue, and I'm not going to get too specific, but we had a situation happen with us recently where we encountered, we really are we're very sensitive about health. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Health is important, and I don't
It is,
necessarily
man.
know if people realize how important dental health is to the rest of your health.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like to your heart, to your brain. I think people think it's just about vanity. It's not necessarily just about vanity. I mean, yes, you need to have a clean smile because we don't want you to have cavities, right?
Yes.
And I mean, that's the reason why you're supposed to get your teeth cleaned twice a year, if possible. But there was a situation where I went home and I would tell my husband, I was very disturbed because I was like, I feel like this person just really doesn't know how bad, not necessarily this looks, but also what is connected to the health of their teeth. It looked like it was tartar, it was decay, it was a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, it's not just how it looks visibly.
Yeah.
It's what bacteria is in your mouth to make
Yeah.
it look like that. And I'm gonna get off my high horse, but it's just, and it's so it's not just about vanity. It's just like, okay, now you have stuff in your mouth and it's
Yeah.
obvious you have stuff in your mouth.
Yeah.
it's not okay.
Yeah.
You have to be healthy.
Yeah.
You just have to be. You have to take care of your dental well-being. And it's okay. That's all I have. Because I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a medical professional, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I want to just.
And it's way bigger than vanity.
It's not
it's
vanity.
way bigger
it's
than
more
vanity.
like, no, it's not it doesn't. Okay. Anyway, so.
So what else going on in this world, in society now?
Well, there's a lot because Kathy's going to stay with us for a little bit. So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the artist dilemma because you kind of hit on it. You talked about how as an artist or as a creative, it's a very delicate area that you tread because you want to make sure that you are meeting the needs of your audience or there for the purpose in which they maybe called you out to be there. But at the same time, you don't want to dilute who you are. So right now, the past 24-48 hours, we've had a Kanye West loop going where Kanye had a little issue where, he went on Twitter. He's a tweeter. So he went on Twitter and he tweeted his feelings about a few things. It started a couple of days ago where he talked about how he really wasn't into the Black Lives Matter movement and whatever. Okay, Kanye, he doesn't think it's substantive. And okay, he's allowed to have his opinion. Yesterday it was about him allegedly coming out supporting someone who's a black African-American woman who's a pro-Trump activist, and he pretty much said, I really do approve of her. And she came back and said that she's definitely freaking out because Kanye West definitely, is somebody she listens to and she's inspired by, and she feels like she's glad that he's pretty much saying that he's the most woke person in the black community type thing. And after all that, he's pretty much saying that his next music is going to be the dopest music ever, and he's recording it from the sunken place.
He said that?
Yeah.
On Twitter.
His document is facts.
I thought that's just what they were calling it.
No.
I didn't know he said
No,
that.
he said it.
Oh.
Right there.
And he's an interesting person because last week or the week before last, he talked about he's going to have a book come out, and it was going to pretty much address society's I guess obsession with photos. And I was like, see Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean? Like, cause that your wife is obsessed with photos too. Cause people are visual, right? We all like to see things. I mean, Instagram is the platform that we see, versus Facebook where it's very wordy. Right. But he, he has a lot to say about him being whoever he is and what he feels like. We're all trained actors and all this other stuff, but he's Kanye, and he can definitely be a little bit over the top. So do we expect him is this part of his, because he's been silent for a very long time, is this part of his resurgence to get people talking about him and trying to check out how great or not great his new music is going to be?
Well, I don't even think it's that, because he's not a marketer. He's never been that guy. He's never done anything for if you follow his career, I've been following him since 2000. Since the accident, since he was through the wire talking like this,
which
you
was
know
one
what
of
I'm
my
saying?
favorite albums.
No,
Let's
absolutely.
be clear about that.
I mean, through the wire it's one of his best songs, and so I'm a big Kanye fan, right? I was following him when Jay was shouting him out, Kanye, you a fool for this one, you know what I'm saying? And so he's never been a guy that does things for likes and for clicks. He's just Kanye, and he's being true to himself. I don't expect people to be. I only expect them to be who they have always been, and this is who he's always shown us to be. He's very polarizing. He's very, it seems like he's fly by night, and so
But he's consistent.
But he's consistent with being that person, right? And he got quiet when he got married, and I'm sure Chris Jenner shut him down and said, "Listen, boy, this is a brand we running out, so you got to cool out and relax because." Y'all are $400 million couple and things, $300 million couple, et cetera, et cetera. And so I do not appreciate, however, he has his opinion, but I don't know if, I don't like when celebrities and people of status don't recognize their pull and their power.
Okay.
So rewind back when Charles Barkley growing up was like, I'm not a role model. I don't want to be a role model. Yes, you are. You're one of the-
Unfortunately, because you're getting this check, so people are looking up
Yes,
to
you
you.
are. Regardless if you want to or not, you are.
Yeah.
So there's a responsibility. I feel like, and that's just me. I'm a community person. I feel like that folks in those positions should have, and I think Kanye needs to be aware of his words. But he's on par with Wayne when Wayne was like, racism don't exist and all this kind of, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just these guys get in a different echelon, a different tax bracket. They see things differently. They experience things that us regular and common folks, so to speak, don't experience, and that's their reality and that's their truth. I don't like it, and I think they need to understand how much weight they carry.
Absolutely.
When
I hear stuff like that, I'm always concerned. I feel like Kanye obviously had a shift after the passing of his mother.
Right.
And I feel like he's a creative genius.
Absolutely.
And I feel like people that are right on that cusp of like genius are always really close to insanity as well.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, depending on what day he wakes up, he could be on either side of that bed, like creating stuff in a way. I think about his what's the song on his last album with Chance? Mm-hmm. And is it Ultralight Beam?
It's Ultralight Beam, yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Like Ultralight Beam, like give me the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And then you hear him a few years later saying the things that he says on Twitter. And so I kind of like write his personality off as that creative weird guy.
Yeah.
That teeter-totters on being crazy and being the greatest to ever do what he's doing.
You hit the head on the nail, because you got people like, historic artists like Vincent Van Gogh was, he cut his ear off.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Leonardo da Vinci went crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like Michelangelo was very eccentric, and these are some of the people that we hold in high esteem in terms of being brilliant, things of that nature. And so I really agree. I believe he's like that. He dropped out of school off of a full ride scholarship from art school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a very complex. I think it's very complex, because for me, I totally get him having this complex nature, this view of life that's totally different. But I also go back to, and you mentioned it, it's that whole Gabrielle Union when she said, my celebrity doesn't exempt me from.
Yeah, can't price out of racism.
You can't price out of racism. You can't price out of this blackness. You can't price out of it. No matter how big you get, you're still who you are. And I think sometimes, when some celebrities forget that. We think about, what happened with OJ. When OJ got in trouble initially, he wasn't tried by the court of black. He was tried by him being OJ. You know what I mean? Although his blackness started becoming a part of it, see the after the verdict. Right. He became the black guy who got away with murder.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to that. It's a lot to when you start thinking about how a lot of persons, when they get to certain statuses, they do kind of forget that they're not really removed from the struggle, but their money allows them a shield, right? And I just think it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I totally get that. It's an artist dilemma. I think it's an artist dilemma because it is that whole I am so on this other place that you can't really get to you don't see it the way I see it type of perspective.
It's the spheres that they live in. I tell you,
it is. I mean, it's crazy.
It's such a crazy.
It's crazy, and this is just like us, because this portion of the show is sponsored by the Sphere. It really is. Are you starting your own business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at the Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and many, many more. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States, as well as modern countries around the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Again, the number is 832-772-7789 or email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. I want to say yay after that, but I figured it didn't match my tone, so I didn't go there. Let's talk about what else has been going on in the news. Waffle House.
One of my favorite places.
Okay,
I know.
I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not, because I'm not a fan. I'm not a
Dallas,
fan.
Texas. We eat waffles.
But no, and it's fine. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I do understand people like Waffle House. I do.
love it.
What's a tale of two Waffle Houses going on right now?
That's funny.
A tale of two
that's
Waffle
funny.
Houses. There is the Waffle House incident that happened early Sunday morning,
Right.
where there was a white shooter. He has now currently been apprehended, but at the time, he shot and killed 4 minority patrons of Waffle House, 3 African Americans, 1 a Latino, and he was, I guess, one of the guys who was there actually was able to escape to a bathroom, but reemerged to, tackle him down, throw the gun away over the counter, and the guy ran away. He ran away.
Right.
Apparently, the guy was not dressed completely when this incident happened. This is from reports. He wasn't dressed completely, and he was not able to be apprehended until today. Apparently, he was found in the woods. Now, he has a history of being mental, and they said last year the cops did take his guns from him and gave him to his dad, and his dad gave the guns back. So my question to you all is, we can talk about, well, one thing I want to talk about this is the guy, the young man, it was African American man who actually was the hero in this situation. It was like, I wouldn't think of myself as a hero. I was thinking of like, I want to survive. I have a daughter at home. She's 4. I don't want to die. And clearly this man is killing people. So let me do what I can do to get out of here before he tries to kill me. I wanted to say, if I could speak to him, don't ever think of yourself as small.
Yes.
You saved a life, your life, you're still a hero. Period. Dot. End of the sentence. I mean, because we don't get heroic.
Yes.
He's not really, getting that heroic tag the way he should, or people noticing that he's black, and most of the victims are all the victims minorities. That's one thing. But another thing I want to talk about is this issue of gun control in the United States, because we've been talking about it lately, but does this really call for that gun reforms conversation? Because they took his guns and gave them to his dad. Would they have done that if this was Tyrone?
Right, of course not.
Or Sean? And I hate to make it a race thing. I really do, because I really wish the playing field was more even.
Or Pedro.
Right?
Seriously.
But why?
Or Hakbin.
You took an assault weapon away from someone you knew had an issue and gave it to a parent, and the parent turned right back around and gave it to them, and 4 people died.
Yeah.
Clearly, and he was known to have mental issues. Who's responsible for that? I want to know. Like, does anybody? I mean, do y'all have a thought? I'm like, who's actually responsible for these people dying? Was it him on his own accord? I mean, clearly he pulled the trigger. Yes, it was him. But who else is responsible for?
Yeah. Anybody that had a influence on his life, anybody that was knowledgeable about his mental condition and let it go like unchecked, particularly let it go unchecked and let him have access to deadly weapons.
Absolutely.
So
This is a classic case of, and you hear it, Yara, help me say her name. Yara Shahidi. Yara Shahidi said it best, right? From Blackish and from
Grownish.
I'm sorry, and from Blackish and from Grownish. She said it best. She said that guns have more rights than people right now.
Absolutely.
And this is a classic case of that, right? That
treating a gun as if it has as if it's an opinion.
Right, exactly. And so all his handlers, everybody that I agree with you wholeheartedly. Everybody had a hand in that. No, they did not pull the trigger, but law enforcement or whomever that pulled the guns away, they gave it to his father. They gave him back. They're culpable.
Yeah.
His dad is culpable. Educators are culpable. Friends are culpable. Right. Everybody that, especially when he had a documented history of mental illness, there should be no one allowed to have a firearm if they are mentally unstable.
And that was one of the things.
That should be like the basic of it.
Yes.
Right? We're so hard on criminals getting it, and cats going,
he said at least they know how to handle it.
Like,
Right.
bam,
I mean,
they know what they're doing at least.
I mean, and they said that
they
his
ain't accidentally shooting nobody.
he didn't have his license, I guess, or whatever, was not active to have a firearm. So it's like, so Clay, okay, so they
But he
cleared.
could get licensed. That's the issue.
The issue is he was licensed at one point.
Yeah, he could get licensed.
But
with
I think
these
after the
mental issues, man.
And a good analogy that I heard best put that kind of really resonated with me. I think it's really easy to kind of get. You have to go through more to get a driver's license.
Yes.
absolutely.
Than you have to do. Then you have to be a registered like gun holder. And think about how you are with your car when your younger cousin says, "Can I drive your car to the store?" You like
you
what?
extra protective.
Yeah, you like,
Nah,
wait,
girl, you done
no.
driving my car.
And
we can drive a car, but
Yeah.
not my car.
We're talking about cars, and we're talking about you got a permit, you got a license. Who insurance are you on? You ask all these questions when you're talking about a vehicle, and now we talking about somebody with. In a
They
lot
can
of
go
these
to
cases,
Walmart and buy a gun.
semi-automatic weapons
Yeah.
and mental health issues. So
It's outrageous.
like how backwards is that in a perspective that you ask more questions when somebody asks to drive your car to the store than you do when somebody shows
Listen,
up
and
to buy a
With a
weapon.
pistol. Yeah.
And I think we just really need to I don't know, as a country, we need to really think about what we're saying when we defend guns over people. We have to really think about that.
Absolutely.
We really need to think about that. Now, the case of the second Waffle House. So the first case was in Tennessee, Nashville. The second case is in Alabama, and this was also recent. A young woman went to Waffle House and she asked for plastic silverware or plasticware.
Yeah.
And she was charged for it. She's a 25-year-old woman. So she went to the manager, said, "Hey, I don't think you should charge me for this. I'm thinking you take it off the bill." The manager went in the back and called the police. She thought the lady was adjusting her bill this whole time. She waits. The police roll up, throw her on the ground, blah, blah, blah. And I say blah, blah, blah because apparently it was a scuffle. It was videoed. They talked about, if you don't relax, we're going to break your arms. Her chest was winding up coming out because she had on a dress. And when you listen to the video, she wasn't resisting. But I'm noticing that in a lot of these videos, they treat persons when they come to arrest them so aggressively, especially minorities, so aggressively. That there's definitely a difference in how they arrest or detain minorities versus how they detain persons who are not of color. And so a lot of people are outraged. They're like, you treated her like an animal.
I just
And
wanna know,
and y'all did not tell her what was going on. Y'all just threw her on the ground and they believed the manager of Waffle House that she was causing a ruckus. And she was like, I just went up there and was like, "Can you take this off y'all charged me for something and I don't think I should have to pay for this because I'm paying for my food."
I just want to know, and we talked about this earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do as black folks to be hated and to be feared and to be treated so aggressively and with so much animus? You know what I'm saying? Like what? Where did I just? What did we do?
Yeah.
What did we do? Because when an officer arrives to a scene, even in my experience when I was in college, it was a frat boy. I was a student athlete, so we had a good time, But if they came to a party, immediately it was met with aggression. Especially if I remember being at a local bar here in West University, and it was a couple specks of pepper in that salt shaker, right? And me and my homeboys, about 4 or 5 of my homeboys, and the same thing happened. Put on the car, and everybody was drinking and drunk. It's a bar. It's a college bar. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why? It is so interesting that we're just met with so much animosity. The same thing happened, not as aggressive, but in Starbucks, right? With the brothers in Starbucks, they were met. There were no questions asked.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. There were no questions asked. They came in and cuffed them and took them, to the station and held them for 8 hours. Like I just don't understand. I just don't understand what happened historically. Like somebody who's an anthropologist who's listening or watching, please email me or hit me on Instagram.
I think it's people
and let me know.
People really do fear things that are so different. You know what I mean? Like because they can't relate to it. I am from the perspective. I've always been, an adventurer. My parents raised me to try new things, do new things. So I've always liked to try and do new things. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've never strayed away from having a different experience that was from me. And I don't walk around with anger or enmity in my heart about persons who don't look like me. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't have a reason to think that everybody that's different from the way I look, from skin color to hair texture, has something against me. That's just not. That's not programmed into my mind. So to think that I can't tell when I've talked to people, whether it's in in a public setting, you know, or if I'm at a store or whatever, the genuine nature of what are they thinking when they see me based upon what's happening in society right now, it's kind of a scary thought. And I think that maybe the bigger conversation that needs to happen, I mean, I know Starbucks is taking steps on their day to, you know, really train people about diversity awareness and how to treat people who don't, you know, who are different from you. I think that's a step because they do have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Because everybody that drinks, we have embraced the coffee culture as a people of color.
Yeah.
We have embraced cup because I mean, one day we woke up and let me tell y'all, one day we woke up and everybody had this cup with this lady thing on it. I'm like, when did this happen? We went. I
remember around about the year, about 2004.
I'm like, we woke up and everybody
drinking at this place because apparently
it's what everybody does.
This is where you're supposed to.
Starbucks is like its
a
own
sneak attack.
entity.
It was a sneak attack.
It's the happy hour.
Like having the right bag
right.
on your shoulder.
Facts.
It's bigger
and dare you to go somewhere else and have to explain why you're drinking that cup. You have to have a real dang on good excuse.
Making sure you have the MacBook is clean.
Yeah.
You have all of the
like your outfit has to be right to go to Starbucks and like use Wi-Fi. But I wanted to add two things because when I saw that on the list of discussion topics, first what Kellen said about when did this start, I think the sad and sickening part is that it's not when did it start. It's been going on for forever. Yeah. It's it's more like when did it end? Because we know from incidences way back, like LA riots and Rodney King, they've been aggressive with black people. We just didn't document every single incident to be able to show.
Come on, social media.
The hope is that just like in the days of civil rights, when MLK strategically got things televised so that people with hearts in the world could see it and say, no, man, this isn't right, and come from everywhere to say whatever they had to say to be a voice for change. Hopefully this new movement will also do the same thing. And then what was I going to say secondly, in regards to the young man at Starbucks, I used to think like, you know, if even with it, you know, one day I'll have a son and I'll say, well, baby, if you're going to go, dress accordingly. Wear your button down and your glasses
and they'll treat
and your
you
golf hat, and you'll be like the young men in Starbucks had on like t-shirts and sweats. Maybe they didn't. I felt like that as a black person and as a parent. And then it dawned on me recently when I watched that video, like your Caucasian brother will be next to you looking like he just rolled out the bed
because he there reading his paper or studying,
doing his thing without combing his hair and has no problems. So
it's just
you kind of just be like, once again, that ain't the answer either.
Not the
you know what I mean? You're still not safe from that.
This inherent bias against people of color in this country. In fact, in this world, because colonialism. Don't get me started. But it's just
Professor got it.
Yeah, man. It just I don't understand it.
And it's unfortunate because what happens, and you mentioned it, Kaylin, is that now we have two guys that are now processed in a system. They were arrested. They had to sit there for 8 hours. They have a record they probably did not have before. What are we doing? I mean, we don't have the answer to this right now. Maybe we can kind of find some people to come on and talk about this. How do we make sure the persons that have been treated that way, that they don't have this thing that follows them? Because now not only were they processed, but now they have video about it and their names are known. And, you know, some people might look at them as troublemakers because they didn't initially say anything. They didn't make a comment. They chose to avoid, news media. When they did speak on news, it was on bigger platforms like Good Morning America, and they were really like, listen, we didn't even know what the heck was going on.
Yeah,
we
they
were trying
didn't
to figure
it was being recorded.
It was like, it
would be viral the next morning.
It was actually it was a white woman who was like, and she actually put, and people say that it must be something else. She was like, I was there was nothing else, they didn't do anything wrong. And so it was, to me, it's like that heartfelt connection, like I saw everything and they didn't do anything, so there's no more to the story. Because people always say, there must have been something, because they had to do something for the
waiting for the story
like it's no other story. But okay, so that tells you that part of it. The flip of that is when we talk about persons like Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has now launched a groundbreaking prison job training program, because we have a lot of persons that have been like these brothers who have probably been wrongly incarcerated, or maybe they were rightly incarcerated, but these persons, she's created a pipeline to employment from in Atlanta, where she says that, because her own experience as a daughter, she saw her dad deal with a lot of things where it was hard for him to get legitimate employment because he had been in the system. And so she's having these programs called PAT, preparing adult offenders through treatment, therapy, and training, making sure that they have a proper career pathway. I think one day on one of your radio programs, it was like a couple of years ago, a year or so ago, you talked about that pipeline. What does that look like from prison to employment? Because that's a big thing, because we talk about, and I say this all the time, when I was in law school, one of the things we talk about all the time was the rehabilitative part of prison is supposed to be to, this part is deter, but the other part is supposed to rehabilitate. But you can't rehabilitate if these persons can't get back into finding work. Yeah. Right? It repeats the cycle.
Right. Recidivism just goes up, which is just them going back to jail because they can't find work, because they can't be productive. They've been out of society. They don't understand the social norms, especially if they were in for so long. Yeah. I remember working with a project called Project Rio, which is the reintegration of ex-offenders some years ago, a decade or so ago. And, it really became an issue and really, really problematic in the early 2000s because, like, even more so than what it was prior to then, because insurance employers wouldn't insure ex-offenders. So that made employers not want to hire them, even for the
menial jobs,
air quote menial jobs, for but they still could get a good paycheck and benefits and be okay. You see what I'm saying? And so then the bonding program came about, where you can apply for these bonds, and employers can get tax breaks for hiring ex-offenders, but that is not widely held and widely known. And so this people that are on the inside they get skills, but they don't get the cutting edge skills, especially what's needed to be successful nowadays. So shout out to the mayor of Atlanta for this, because it is definitely needed, especially when our little brothers and big brothers that are the ones that are really in there the most.
And I went live on IG, so a lot of my friends and followers are chiming in. I will repeat what Bay wrote. He said that's why it's important to start our own businesses and employ our people.
Absolutely.
Because shout out to Bay, because you're so right.
Yeah, Bay. Come on, Bay.
So, but you think about all of the things we have to overcome in this society. It's like one step, and then then something else comes. So it makes it very discouraging. But if Black people don't know nothing else, we know to keep pushing. So we just have to we just have to hope and pray that all of our efforts one day will establish the change that we deserve.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we actually encourage growth, and we don't give passes for unproductive behavior that hurts us as a community. And when I want to say that, I want to talk about the Pied Piper too, because I have to go to the Pied Piper. So the Pied Piper, if y'all know, the Pied Piper of R&B, who is R. Kelly. Okay. And one of the things that's going on with R. Kelly right now is that that there's an attorney suing him, saying that she feels like it's about high time that he has to pay for his crimes against the Black women. And she was like, she was 11 years old when R. Kelly committed his first known act of criminal predation against 15-year-old Aaliyah in Chicago.
I remember that.
And we all sat there and watched on Video Soul, which was a creepy interview. But in that interview, we knew something was just not right. And later on found out.
It was weird that he married a 15-year-old. I'm 13 years old. Wait, this can happen? I was
but it was never really admitted to. You see what I'm saying? It was just she was like, oh, Robert. And I was like, I remember thinking why is she calling him Robert?
I was confused.
I knew there was something at that time.
Even as a child.
I knew that was a very intimate relationship, although it was never admitted to. And then we talk about all the things that happened after that. His music was telling, but we didn't really think anything of it. But then it was the video that came out 15 or so years ago that we saw it go through, but then it was also the Trapped in the Closet 1 through 39 or whatever it was that was also telling about.
Oh my God,
but we're hearing, just like most artists, they live out their life through their
music,
art,
through their art,
right? So like they talk about comedians are also very hurt people, right? Because they're
Yeah.
they're very much hurt because they have to have something to laugh at, so they go through things, but they try to make light of it. He went through a lot of stuff, and all his music, most of it focuses on this predatory nature, or this, excuse me, baby, sexual nature that they have. When they're what he has in his exploits. Some of it is very enduring and caring, but a lot of it it's what's going on? Like, do you have anything else to sing about? You talked about your mama. We got that. Boom, boom. I wish I could fly. Believe I could fly. We got that too. But outside of those two songs, all of it has been about the relationship, the sexual relationships with him and the women that he's been with. And it's just an interesting, it's telling that this lady, she's a civil rights lawyer. Yeah. And she's like, I think he needs to go to jail because there's been too many women that have come out and said that he's done things to them. Granted that some of them might be older now, but there's too many women that have said things, and we have failed protecting our own because we give him passes because of his celebrity and not because he could be your uncle, your daddy, your brother that has done this to young women. And because of him, we continue to see the cycle in communities, and no one's stopping the cycle. So when do we start holding people accountable?
Because he's making good music. And then I don't know if you've read about this. How can you clarify how her suing him will ultimately, send him to jail? Like, is she suing him for money, or does she want him to be prosecuted? Are charges being brought against him? Well, how does that work?
Well, civilly, usually in civil cases, it is for you can win a monetary damage. Like, you can win monetary damages civilly. I think that them bringing the case in general allows them to look at everything that's been going on.
I see.
And they might have the option, like, opens the box.
I see.
Because, as a prosecutor can pick it up and say there might be some other things going on there too.
Yeah.
What statute of limitation has
not ran, because there might be people that have been right on the cusp of that, the statute of limitations, depending on what state they were in, what state he was in, all that stuff matters. Usually persons who are of his mindset in these particular issues are usually people that have thought through it, especially after the first incident with the video that we were
because I don't know how he escaped that.
Right. So when now you start thinking like how do you think about, okay, now you're thinking about, okay, where do I need to live? People start thinking about real critically when they want to pull off a crime. They start thinking about stuff like, okay, where do I need to live? Where do I need to have these people come to? Right. And you hear some of these stories, the ladies, even the one lady that went on I think was The Real, she talked about how he arranged for her to come a certain place. So he arranged that when their first incident, when she was underage, it was with a woman and not with him.
Remember just a year and a half ago, we had someone else who said, who she was of age. Yeah. But I forget her name, but her parents were looking for her, and she was with R. Kelly and wasn't allowed to leave, and after it went crazy, it went viral, she reached out to her parents because she was like 23 or something like that. She was an adult.
But she had been with him for a while.
Yeah, she had been with him, and so his controlling behavior and natures that's being played out is still there. We have a very good friend, I'm not going to name drop, who was a part of R. Kelly's camp for years, and he told me, and I quote, very good friend of ours, said, Rob always been weird. He's always been off. That's why I never connected with him, and that's why I left. Yeah, and there's so many other musicians, so many other writers, and so many other people that have been a part of his camp who have done the same thing. And one quick thing, I think he's also on that.
I would say the cusp.
You got to realize how great this man. This man is 52, 53 years old. Reinvents himself from time to time. He created a subgenre. He's created a subgenre of R&B. The R&B thug that went on for 6-7 years. He's created gospel songs that have gone platinum. He's created sex records that we all loved and grew up on. He was a part of a 90s boy band, 90s group. R. Kelly and Public Announcement.
Right.
He's made stepping records and that have gone, like, he's done everything, and we love it. Mm-hmm. He's great. He plays 5 instruments. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's another guy that's
it's that the artist dilemma, right? Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, do we give him do you give him, and then this is not a knock because he's not the only troubled artist, right? It's one of those things we have to think about because he's an artist, and clearly we still many people still support him in his musicality, right? We think that he is a genius.
Musically, he's a genius.
He's a genius, but let's end with this. How do we give him a pass? But then so many people have turned their back on the Bill Cosby situation.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things.
There's no equity.
There's no equity in that. There's no equity. And, you know, we talk about Bill Cosby, and he talked about in his era, in the 60s and 70s, when all this stuff first started coming out, this is how people partied. You know what I mean? So we weren't there for that, right? So it's a difference now because we're very much aware of what's going on. But I think that so many people have endured the pain of a lot of sexual impropriety in their life that they haven't even noticed
Perversion.
the perversion or the injury. They just turn a blind eye because that's what you do. You turn a blind eye to it. So we, as a community of persons of color, we need to start really holding people accountable, especially those who are of age.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a difference between being of age and being underage when things happen.
And those that have been elevated as a representation of greatness, you know, in our community and in all of our like entertainment fields.
Absolutely.
So.
And there is a responsibility there. You can't, I would say you can't really take responsibility for what happens to you as a child, but as an adult, you have to take responsibility for those actions, because I think sometimes people are exposed to things at a young age and you can't really yay or nay on that one. Yeah. But when you come to the time when you realize that was wrong, then you have a responsibility not to repeat it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a responsibility to not repeat it. So with that being said, cultivating this self-awareness, cultivating this community call, this clarion call for us to be better as a community, really reaching out, making sure that we're putting our children's children in the best possible light, making sure that we hold persons accountable for gun reform, making sure that we have the discussions about black on blue or blue on black or whatever the conversation is in terms of violence against persons of color by persons in authority. We need to make sure that we're having the right conversations at the right time and holding everyone accountable and making sure that we don't lower the bar based upon intimidation or fear or enjoyment. Right. So with that being said, my name is Kira Laws, and you can follow me on Instagram at the Modern Day Cindy, and that's Cindy with an I, not a Y.
And it's your man, Caitlin Laws, aka Senior Waffle. Follow me on all social media platforms at Senior Waffle 713. That's SENORGUAPO 713. And we have a phenomenal guest who's given us her craft, who's given us her soul, who's given us her art and her perspective. Kathy, what up?
Hey, I just wanted to say I had such a good time. I think y'all's show is super dope.
Yay.
I think y'all's relationship and all of y'all's different efforts to be present and have a voice for a positive cause in our community is so super dope, and I'm so grateful to be a part. So thanks again.
Oh, thank
you. Man,
you.
you're welcome anytime.
Anytime you want. You're welcome
Soon
to come back.
I will be back next month.
Listen, hey,
Girl, let's put you in the book. Okay.
Like, listen, when you get that next publication, now you gotta let us know so we can, you know, get
For
you
sure,
on.
for sure. Thank y'all.
For sure.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for having
coming.
us. We'll see y'all next time.
See you next week.